Yo, what is up, all you stone cold, super fly, illmatic fish keeping fucking does. You watch Aqua fucking Aquatic. I'm in the car. So listen, last week I put out a video talking about the electric blue Jack Dempsey, but it was hard for me to do so because in my research in doing this this video for this fish, I realized that there was a big hoopla, a big to-do surrounding this fish, and I couldn't just not talk about it, and I didn't want the original video to be super long, so I did the video, a species spotlight, and I promised to do a kind of a myth busting my opinion on the electric blue Jack Dempsey and all the drama that surrounds it. But before I get started, if this is the first time visiting my channel, please hit the subscribe button, notification bell, leave a comment, and definitely leave a thumbs up. That thumbs up, that subscription, that share, it doesn't take nothing for you to do it. It's free, but it's priceless for my channel. So thank you in advance. All right, so I in the past had electric blue Jack Dempseys, and they died on me. That was back in 2000, and to be honest with you, when I worked at the pet store, they died on everybody else too. So I stood away from these things for the longest, but over the last about year or so, I've been seeing people pop up with these electric blue Jack Dempseys that they've been keeping in their aquariums, and they've been thriving. So I thought, yeah, let me give it a shot. So I got me electric blue Jack Dempsey. All right, now from staring at this fish and looking at it and watching it for however many months I've had it already, I realized it was a lot different than the Jack Dempsey, the electric blue Jack Dempsey that I had in the past. So I was like, you know what? Let me freshen up and see what other people got to say about it. And I came across Palmer Aquatic. Now, this is not nothing negative towards Palmer. Palmer was giving his opinion, and to be honest with you, I agreed with him 100% a couple years ago. But now not so much because of the one that I have. And let me explain to you, like I said, nothing negative towards Palmer. Palmer did a video about a year ago. Now, mind you, this was a year ago. Palmer might think differently now. I don't know. But where he was, I don't want to say he was bashing, because he was telling the truth as he knows it. And to be honest with you, his truth was pretty much the truth consensus. Electric blue Jack Dempseys were not worth getting because they were very sickly, they were very skittish, frail. They were just not a good fish to have, and the reason why is because of the way they came about. At least this is my opinion. I'm no physiologist, you know what I'm saying? But I do have a brain, 2 eyes, and a good mind, all right? And I can make my own opinions. So take this with a grain of salt. This is just my personal opinion. There's a couple of ways that fish become these extravagant looking fish like the electric blue Jack Dempseys. One way is by medical manipulation. For instance, the glowing angelfish, the angelfish, and the glow in the dark fish, and all them jokers. Yeah, they was pretty much created in a lab by scientists. Then you have selective breeding, which selective breeding and line breeding, or it's a weird, I don't know if selective breeding, line breeding, and colony breeding, those are 3 different, but I think selective breeding is a form of colony breeding. So what happens in selective breeding, you pretty much find this cool fish and that cool fish, and you let them hook up. You selected cool fish to do it. And then you have line breeding, which line breeding is a very specific order of mating fish within their own bloodline to strengthen a trait. And then you have colony breeding, where you just have a lot of fish that kind of look cool, and you put them together and you hope that those cool traits, over time, pop up. But a lot of times, colony breeding is not to create a trait, more to keep a trait standard. All right, so, and then you have hybridism, which this is not hybridism. What they did was, the gene that makes the electric blue, right? is a recessive gene, which means it just pops up every once in a while in a couple generations in one fish here or there. And what they did was they found these fish that had this extra blue recessive gene because it popped up, and then they line bred it, which means they had them breed with each other, and then their babies bred with this parent and then this parent, and it's a very specific order on how to do it. I mean, some people probably do it in different orders, but it's a very thought out process. Now what happens with this line breeding stuff is this line breeding not only encourages a certain trait, but you got to take the good with the bad, because when you push a trait, it's not like you can go in there and take, I don't want this, I don't want that, I want this, I want that. You kind of encourage any deficiencies to go along with this coloration, right? So for instance, if you have a fish that is really, really blue, but because it is a genetic here and there, what was the word I'm thinking about? The thing when I said that, it just pops up every once in a while, like albinoism. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, usually when you have a genetic thing pop up, it pushes something to the background. You know, you can't have everybody all up in the front. You got this extra blue, well, something might have to step back genetic wise, and a lot of times it's maybe a health issue. So when you line breed these fish, you're pushing this blue, but you're also pushing the genetic bad stuff. And I think that's what happened with this fish back in 2000. At least that's when I remember these fish. I don't really quite know when this fish came out. I know I remember seeing them in 2000 because I was at the pet store. I used to sell them. These fish were very frail. They were blue, but they were very sickly, and it was a lot because of the inbreeding going on. Now, over time, I believe after a certain point of line breeding, which is basically inbreeding, I believe people started getting these fish from different sources of breeders that were line breeding. Then that becomes selective breeding. So now you're mixing DNAs from different genetic parents, which genetically variety is stronger. So not to mention another aspect of line breeding is every once in a while, every couple generations, you got to breed them back into the original. So every once in a while, you got to get a regular Jack Dempsey to breed them with. And I think over time, the mixing of the DNAs with other specimens of electric blue Jack Dempseys and other specimens of regular Jack Dempseys has made them stronger. So they're not as frail, they're not as sickly, and they're not so much of a gamble. You know, I feel like I got a scratch in my throat. So Palmer got all kinds of terrible comments. Well, they were very, I wouldn't call them terrible. What I would call them is very emotionally charged comments regarding his video. And to which I say, you know, I don't know where Palmer got his. I don't know how long ago he's talking about, you know, he had these Jack Dempseys. I mean, he did the video about a year ago, but he might have tried keeping them a year before that, which would put it in a dangerous situation, genetically, you know, and time-wise. So the people who were being, you know, very, yeah, I just, because he was getting comments now, like it's continuing to get comments. Now I did watch another guy, because I went on the fish popper, where he had the opposite, where he had he was basically in my situation where he had success with it, and he was telling his thing. So I did not know there was a big hoopla concerning the electric blue Jack. And even in my own comments from the Jack Dempsey video, I had people saying, yeah, I've had mine for years, no issues. So I just think, you know, maybe, who knows, you know, some of these line breeders maybe still be trying to line breed them to create an even more bluer one, which would put it genetically in a dangerous position. I don't know the situation, but I do know this: my electric blue Jack Dempsey is thriving along with a lot of other people's electric blue Jack Dempsey, and I don't think it has the problems that it's had in the past. So if you're getting it from a reputable breeder, you know, I say go for it. If you want one, don't be so scared anymore like a couple years ago. I say go for it. Do it. Act like a tennis shoe, and just do it.